All right, great day to be alive. Great day to be alive. Start off with some gratitude as always. Always starting off with gratitude. And a little sip of some Gatorade. All right, so today we're gonna go over a couple of things, right? We're gonna go over some basic automations. And just to start off, I'm gonna go with the reviews, with following up with old or cold data. Old leads that have reached out to your business in the past. We're going to talk about automating appointments, canceling, rescheduling appointments as well. So you could have whoever it is that you've hired to do this take care of other tasks versus having to worry about booking appointments on the calendar or having to cancel and reschedule. I'm going to show the ability and the software that we're using to automate this process. Also, I'm gonna show you how to automate inbound inquiries, right? So one of the problems that business owners have is oftentimes they may have the capital to run paid advertisement, be it Facebook, Instagram, but they may not have the capacity or the mental real estate to follow up on these leads that come in, right? So one of the things that we talk about in the industry is speed to lead, right? Speed to lead, meaning as soon as somebody shows interest in your business, your goal is to make sure that you respond to them as soon as possible, right? So if you're not responding to anybody that's showing interest in your service, in your business, whatever it is that you do, if you're not responding as soon as possible, the likelihood of you doing business with that individual is slim to none. And the reason for that, unless you have an extremely massive brand, but the reason for that is because likely they're either scrolling through any of the social platforms, be it TikTok, Instagram, LinkedIn, whatever choice, but they are gonna get distracted, or they may be looking for a solution today and they may go search for a competitor, right? So how to mitigate that, how to minimize that risk of them going to your competitor is simply by responding as soon as somebody shows interest in your service. All right, so I'm gonna go deep today. I'm gonna go into a lot of details. Before I go in, make sure that you comment the word school, SKOOL. For those of you that actually want to learn more in depth of how this is built, if you want to jump on an actual Zoom so I could either troubleshoot or help you in your journey, then just make sure to comment the word school, and that way I'll give you an invite so that I could start, allocating a little more time into, specifying this based off of your needs. Now, I'm fully aware that everybody watching this is at a different place right now. Right, I'm fully aware. So I'm gonna talk from different angles, whether you are a business owner, whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you are an existing agency that hasn't thought about implementing some of these offers or some of these services to your existing clients, or you may simply be an entrepreneur or someone that wants to be an entrepreneur, right? And doesn't know where to start. You haven't really found the avenue in which you could actually be of service and provide value to local business owners or anybody in general, right? So again, this is not for everyone. I'm fully aware this is not for everyone, but I do know that there's one person out there that may be able to increase the skills that they offer in the marketplace, right? They may be working 12 hours a day and they just don't know where to go. They may be wanting to potentially generate an extra 5, 6, 700 bucks a month, maybe $1,000 a month, 5,000 bucks a month. Well, with what you're gonna learn, you'll literally have the skill to help business owners, and you name your price, right? So depending on what it is that you're doing for them, you could customize the price based on where you're at. And I'll get into different price models that you could actually utilize once we get a little further in. But again, I just want to emphasize that this is not for everyone, but for that one person out there that would like to increase their skill set, then this is for you. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into the reviews automation. This is one of my favorite automations, and the reason for it is because you have the ability to help a business owner increase their visibility without having to pay for ads. Do you know how powerful that is? Now, I don't recommend this being the only strategy that you utilize when it comes to helping a local business owner, but if you could help a business owner increase the amount of reviews that they get on Google, that is valuable. That is gold, right? And I'm gonna break this down a little more for you, right? So think about it like this. When was the last time that you went to a restaurant or you decided to buy a product on Amazon and you just bought it without checking the reviews? And the likelihood of that happening is zero. A lot of people, okay, let me be a little more practical. Most people, right, not everybody, but most people, they are gonna go read the reviews, or they're gonna search on YouTube to see what are other people saying about this product, what are other people saying about this service, right? So if I could help a local business owner increase the amount of reviews that they get on Google, by default, that's gonna improve the amount of people that come to them organically without them having to pay for ads. So I'm going to show you how to automate this process. Now, this is one account over the last 6 months, and it's actually been less than that. They've been able to generate 47 reviews, right? And again, I believe it's been 4 months, but the status here only allows me to do either this week or the last 6 months. I'll tell you right now, this week, this month, this year. So this year or this week. So this year is a new year and we only have 4 new reviews, but over the last 6 months, we've been able to get 47. Now I will show you some other accounts as well, just to give you a better idea of just some more examples, right? I just want to give you guys some more examples that you could have on your plate. All right, so this account has 51 reviews. Do you know how massive that is? 51 reviews over the last 6 months. Do you know what you could do? Give me a second. I don't know why this is not coming up. I don't know why the screen is acting a little funky here. I probably have way too many tabs open right now. All right, so again, different accounts, 51 reviews over the last 6 months, 92% increase, 14 positive reviews. There's 0 negative. There's some on the left that I can't really show. So 14 positive. It's not calculating all of them, but for the most part, the sentiment on them is phenomenal, right? So again, this is a service. This within itself is a value add. This was within itself. You could charge a company maybe $97 a month, maybe, $150 a month to put a system in place to automate this for them. Does that make sense? So, and they're going to appreciate you as well, right? Because the amount of times that business owners actually ask somebody to leave them a positive review is not high. There's a few companies that, local business owners that really understand the value of this, but you as an individual, right, looking for an opportunity, you could literally approach a business owner and ask them, hey, I own a small agency, introduce yourself. and I help local business owners increase their reviews on Google without having to pay for any extra money for ads, right? And then you can educate them and let them know the value in increasing their reviews on Google. So what this does is it's called reputation management, right? So now they're going to be looked at as a more credible company by people organically searching for this service, right? And they're not having to ask for these reviews manually. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and show you an example, a really good workflow that I've built, and I'm going to show you how we are automating this. All right. So you may or may not be able to see this good. Let me see how that looks. All right. So let me go ahead and zoom in a little bit more. Now, this workflow could be set completely different depending on the company, the business owner's structure, depending on their system and what they currently have. So in this scenario, I'm going to explain what has been built, but after I'm going to show you how other ways that you could actually organize this, right? So there's different ways that you could organize it, but in this scenario, right? So this company has an external CRM. Right? They have an external software that they use to put the customer wherever they are in the phase. Meaning, if the customer is a new customer, a new lead came in, well, they have to label that inside of the CRM. If the homeowner is in a different phase, right? So if the homeowner is in a different phase, they're in maybe collection, or maybe they are getting an inspection. Right? They simply have to label that on the application. So what I've done is I've integrated the software, right? So that whenever that status changes on the external hard drive, it's going to automatically add them into a workflow, right? So it's going to add them into the workflow. And the workflow that we add them to is we are going to simply ask for a positive review. Right, so we're gonna wait 2 minutes. We're gonna send them a text message. Simply asking, hey, whatever their name is, would it be okay if I asked you to take a moment to leave us a 5-star review? It'll take less than 30 seconds. Okay, so now this is happening on the back end. Remember, right, most business owners, even though they'd like to have more reviews on Google, they're not actively asking people for them to leave them a positive review. It's just one more thing that they don't want to do, right? So if you could come into a business owner's presence and ask him and say, hey, let them know that this is what you do. You could help business owners increase their reviews on Google without having to pay any extra money on ads. Just sending out a message to your existing customers. This is all happening on the back end. All right. So again, just to backtrack, we're going to go ahead and explain what's happening, right? So we have a customer and we have a sales rep, and on the application, what he's done is he labels the customer as job complete. Now, instead of him having to ask the homeowner for a review, now we put a system in place so that a review request is sent out automatically. All right, that's one thing. Now, this is really cool, right? So we've also created what's called a trigger link. Now, the trigger link is designed so that we know if the person clicked on the link. Now, why is that important? Is because we've also set another message to go out within 5 days, right? So 5 days from us sending out this message, we're gonna send them out another one. But I want you to ask yourself, why would you send out another message if they clicked on the link? You don't want to do that. And that's where the trigger link comes into place. I've set it so that if somebody clicks on this trigger link, it's going to automatically remove them from this workflow, which is massive within itself, right? Massive. All right. So again, send them an email, send them a text message asking for a review. We're going to wait 5 days if they don't click on the link, and send them another message. If they do click on the link, then at that point, what we're going to do is remove them from the workflow. All right. So now closing this out. The next part of this automation is oh man, I think I closed the wrong one. Yeah, I definitely closed the wrong one. All right, so again, just to backtrack. So initially, the sales rep labels the customer as job complete. Now, rather than him having to manually ask for that Google review, we've put a system in place so that it is sent out automatically, right? So now the rep has one less thing that they have to focus on. And that's another thing as well, right? From a value add perspective. Let's say that, you're a sales rep or you're a business owner. For those entrepreneurs out there, you know that you have a lot of things that you have to take care of. You have so many things on your plate, right? So if you could help take some of these things off of somebody else's plate, they're going to appreciate you. And the ironic thing is that the people that make the most money have the most things on their plate. I'm going to say that again. So the people that have the most money have the most things on their plate. So what I'm showing you is ways to automate things so that you could take these things off of their plate. And the cool thing about taking things off of their plate is what you're taking off their plate, you're automating. You're putting systems in place so that not only are you removing it from somebody else's plate, you're not putting it on your plate. Does that make sense? So that's where the value comes in. And again, these systems are not hard to put together. In fact, as I mentioned in the beginning of this video, make sure to comment the word school, SKOOL, and I'll make sure to get you an invite to my school community where I could send these exact frameworks into your account. So you don't have to build it from scratch, which is a massive value add. Now there's gonna be some configuration, obviously, we gotta test it and make sure that it's flowing properly. But once we set it in place, think about the value that you're providing to a business owner that wants to boost their reviews on Google. All right. So again, just to remind you, we have the sales rep. He changes the status on a customer as a job complete. It's going to wait 10 minutes. We're going to add them to the workflow. I showed you guys the workflow that they're added to. We're going to send them that text message. But after that, 14 days after that, we're going to send them a referral. We're going to ask for a referral. Right, so we're gonna add them to the referral workflow. So what I'm gonna do is hop on over to the referral workflow, just so you have an idea of what's happening there. All right, so in the referral workflow, simple. We're gonna wait 14 days, and as of now, we have 70 people pending to go through this. We have 16 people that have already got this first message sent, and now there's 16 people waiting for the next 7 days for that next email to be sent out to them. So that's one of the cool things as well, is you're able to see where they are within the workflow, right? So again, we have the notification, we have the automation that has been sent for the review. And then after that, 14 days after, we're gonna go ahead and ask if they happen to know somebody that needs whatever service they're offering, either a new roof, if they know anybody that needs plumbing done for their house, if they happen to know anybody that's looking for a new barber, do they happen to know somebody that needs to get their taxes done immediately? Do you happen to know somebody that needs work with getting a visa, or somebody that's going through an immigration process? Do you happen to, there's, depending on the business that you're helping, obviously you're gonna customize these messages for that business. All right. Now, there's more little nuances that I can get into, but for the sake of time, I'm going to go ahead and click out of this one. And the next automation that I'm going to talk about is, now that we've talked about reviews, right? We talked about reviews. Now we're going to talk about the follow-up automation. All right, we're going to talk about the follow-up automation. On over to here. All right, so before I hop on to the follow-ups, I want to give you guys the other way of having this done, right? So I've automated it fully for the company, one company that I'm working with, and I've done it so that there's no manual work that needs to be done in order to get that message sent out, because they are using an external piece of software that I didn't really want to mess with, but I wanted to make sure that the information is communicated, and whenever a status is changed on the external CRM, then that lets me know where that customer is in the process within the sales journey so that we can send them that review. But not everybody has that, right? So not every business owner has an external software labeling where the customer is in the sales process or the journey. Most people are just doing business off their cell phone, and it's very unorganized. So there's different ways to go about it. If they don't have another piece of software to integrate and kind of communicate what's happening, then there's a little bit of manual work that's required, and there's different ways. Again, I'll go into that in my school community, but one of them being, we're gonna create a pipeline, right? We're gonna create a pipeline. And this pipeline, what it does is it organizes where the customer is in the journey, right? Where are they in the journey, right? So in this scenario, we sent out 298 opportunities, right? So there's 298 messages, people that were put through this, right? Or at least they're in this phase. 3 of them responded, right? So this tells you the amount of people that responded, the amount of opportunities that are considered hot leads, somebody that showed interest, right? Follow-up. These are the amount of people that said they are okay with getting a follow-up within 3 months. All right. Now, there's some others to kind of go through. So long follow-up, they're okay with getting a follow-up within a year. Wrong number. You know, these people they said that they've gotten a roof already done. They already have a new roof. This 70 people said absolutely no, hard no, right? So they're not interested at all. These are the amount of people that have already filed a claim. And then over here, I have a separate one, which is manually replied to these for now. Meaning AI was not able to, I haven't configured it yet to handle that situation correct, right? So once I go through that conversation, I then program AI to take care of that situation properly, and then those will go into whatever category that AI takes them down, right? So again, the reason I shared this though, and I didn't want to talk about AI yet, but the reason I shared this is because let's say, for example, that So let's say, for example, that we don't have that external software, right? We don't have that external software, and there's no way, nobody's actually dispositioning calls properly, right? So let's just say nobody's dispositioning calls. So you're gonna have to educate the business owner and say, hey, you know, whenever you finish doing business with the client, you're gonna have to move this opportunity over to job complete. Right? So that now when this moves over to job complete, it then will trigger that workflow that we've set in place to automate the reviews. Does that make sense? So that's one way of doing it. There's another way as well, meaning if they booked an appointment on the calendar and, you know, they showed up, you're gonna have to disposition that customer as showed up. And by you dispositioning that call properly, that they showed up, then that will communicate automatically to put them into set workflow to go ahead and send out the review request. And then from there, we're gonna go ahead and put them into the referral request. So again, there's different ways to skin the cat. There's more, meaning if they have the contact's name and phone number, the contact's information inside of the system, they could simply add a tag. they could simply add a tag or add them manually to the workflow. So there's different ways to go about it. I do my best to try to automate it as best as possible, and it really depends in how the business is structured and the systems that they have in place as of today. All right, so again, I just wanted to touch on that before moving on to the follow-ups when it comes to automating the follow-ups. All right, so back to the canvas. So again, these are the different statuses that a customer could be in. They filed a claim, contingency agreement, inspection, bad lead came in. But in this case, let's say that, we got a lead, we reached out to them, and for some reason, they have not gotten back to us. They didn't pick up, they weren't home. Maybe they said they're not interested. Maybe they just clicked on the ad because they were bored and they just wanted to spend a local business owner's money. I don't know. But the point is that not everybody that shows interest in your company wants to do business right then. They're not ready to purchase right then, right? So what do? You just forget about them and just hope that a new wave of individuals show interest in your service? Yeah, you can. But if you've already paid for X amount of leads, if you've paid for 1,000 leads over the course of 2, 3, 4, 5 years, and that's very small. If you've paid for all of these leads, the question is, what are you doing with them? Right? The question is, what are you doing with them? So what I've done is I've put a system in place so that, again, same scenario. Whenever the rep labels, whenever they disposition this call, this phone, this customer, whenever they disposition this customer as a bad lead, we're gonna wait 45 days and then we're gonna add them to a follow-up sequence, which I'm gonna go into in a second. But before I do, again, you get a chance to see how many individuals are in this process within the workflow. So there's 50 people that have been put that are in that sequence, and coming Monday, there's probably going to be a lot more. We're just getting started with the system and, just kind of slowly trickling new individuals into the workflow. And as people go through the workflow, then I kind of start adjusting the AI to converse and ask the proper questions. But as of now, it has a good framework. It actually booked an appointment for the 19th, booked it maybe 2-3 days ago. And it simply was by somebody asked a question, AI started conversing back and forth with the end objective to book them on the calendar. And it did. It booked them for the 19th, which is awesome. All right. So the workflow that we're going to add them to. So again, bad lead, 45 days, we're going to add them to the workflow. What is the workflow we're going to add them to? Let me go ahead and close this out. And shout out to number one, Charles, right? I'm not going to take full credit for this. I'm just not going to take full credit for this. So I learned this from Charles. However, what is happening here is this is a workflow, right? It could be used in many ways, all right? So for now, I have it set whenever a sales rep labels a call, whenever they label somebody as a bad lead, it's going to automatically put them in through this automation process. And there's only going to be 25 that go in a day, right? So only 25 people could go through this workflow a day. It doesn't have to be like this, but in the beginning, you want to start small and scale. Meaning, if you happen to get a bad response rate, if you happen to get a bunch of opt-outs, you don't want to add all of your contacts through this funnel, right? Now, in the scenario in which I'm talking about, it's not going to happen unless you have like a massive corporation. There's not going to be thousands of people that are going through this. But if the business owner that you're helping has a database of leads, right? So if they have a database of leads that they have not reached out to over the course of the time that they've been in business, over the years, they've got the phone number, the name, and the email, but they've never done anything with it. What we're going to do is we're going to start sending out messages. And you could add them to the same workflow as well, right? So there's different ways to put people through these systems. In this scenario, like I said, if somebody's labeled a bad lead, they go here. But you could frame it so that you could simply upload X amount of contacts and just add. I could just do it. It's kind of harder to talk about it without doing it, but essentially what I would do in this scenario is I'd go over to the contacts, and just to give a quick example, I'd simply go to trigger automation. I'd name the automation. All right, I'm not gonna do this now. All right, but the point is that there's different ways to add people to this automation. The first one is you could have, you could create that workflow so that whenever the status is changed, it automatically puts them here. Or you could go to the contact, or you could add multiple contacts, thousands of contacts, hundreds, thousands, and just put them through the same workflow. And rather than sending out the message all at once, you could put them through the sequence so that only 25 contacts go through this workflow a day. And then not only that, instead of sending out 25 messages all at once, you could send out one message every 15 minutes, right? So this is just to help with troubleshooting, right? Because it's not going to be perfect at first. It helps with troubleshooting, and it also helps with reducing the grade, your rate when it comes to opt-outs. You don't want that all happening at once and get your account banned. So you want to do it at a slow pace. All right. Now, what's happening here? So after we add them to this workflow, what we're going to do is we're simply going to send them a text message, right? We're going to send them a text message. We're going to say, hey, whatever their name is, just checking back in. It's been about a year since we last looked at your roof, and we're offering complimentary checkups if you'd like us to take another look. Reply yes, and we'll get you on the schedule, right? Perfect. So then what's happening here? If the person doesn't respond within 2 days, what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and send them another text message simply asking the question in another way. Hey, just following up, we're scheduling yearly roof inspections for properties we've already been out to. Just reply yes or Y, and we'll get you set up. All right, now, and as you could see, there's 8 people that are still in this process. They still haven't replied, right? So if they end up replying, it's going to take them down this path, right? So if they end up replying, it's going to take them down this path. If the intent is positive, that's when the bot is going to be turned on with the end objective to book an appointment. Does that make sense? So if the intent is positive, if the intent is negative, then the bot is going to automatically turn off. And if no conditions are met, AI is still going to be turned on to find out what's actually happening. And I trust AI to answer the qualifying questions and find out where they are in the process. All right. So again, yes, no, and then where are the conditions? If none of these conditions are met, if AI seems to not really get a good reading, if what they reply isn't a factual yes or a no, or if it isn't obvious that they're interested or not, maybe they say something like, let me think of a good example. Maybe they say something like, let me think of a good one. Maybe they say something like, I saw you guys, I saw the same company driving on the highway. I saw one of your trucks on the freeway 2 days ago, right? So that's not a positive yes, or that's not a negative no. You don't really know where they fall whenever somebody responds like that. So in that scenario, AI is gonna turn on and it's gonna start asking questions to find out where they are, where's their interest level, right? So there's more that needs to be added to this workflow, meaning, yeah, there's a little bit more that I'm going to be adding to this, but for the most part, we are just trying to gauge interest. And again, these are people that a business hasn't reached out to over years. Does that make sense? So there's opportunity in people that have shown interest in your service. Maybe the time that they reached out to you, it just wasn't a good time. Or maybe they didn't have the money. Or, there's so many different scenarios that could happen. But the point is that it will do you well to follow up with people that have shown interest in your service at some point or another. In fact, I'm actively building this out for myself as well. So I usually focus on customers, but right now, I've decided it's just one of those things where, maybe I'm the only one, but you end up doing more for other people than you do for yourself, right? So a lot of the stuff that I do for business owners, these recommendations, the things that I build out, sometimes I neglect my own business and I don't put these systems in place for myself. So I've talked to thousands of people, thousands. And I would say by next week, I'm gonna actually have something like this set in place for my personal business, and I'll start putting individuals through that process so that we could get some engagement as well for my service, right? Because I have thousands of leads, old and cold data, I have thousands of them. Then I'm gonna put them through the same workflow, all right? But basically offering my service. Now, if they don't reply in another 22 hours, then what we're gonna do is send them a third message, same concept. If they reply, then AI is gonna take over and kind of figure out where they are in the process, trying to book an appointment, get them on the calendar. And if they don't reply, then it's gonna stop here. 3 messages is enough. I could do this forever, but 3 messages is enough. I could wait, I could actually wait and do maybe like 90 days from now, from this time, and then kind of put them through the same process again, just to kind of keep it rolling, just keep it going. But that's for like the real sharks out there that really understand the value of following up with customers, right? They're not thinking about offending anybody. They're like, yo, we're gonna fucking reach out to these customers as many times as possible. We paid for the lead, and we're gonna milk it. We're gonna fucking ask. We're gonna keep asking as many times as possible until they say absolutely no, and they say fuck off, and they unsubscribe, right? So that's just what it is. So, what the fuck? What the fuck? All right, we gotta get our shit together. What the fuck? All right. So following up. So we talked about that. How do we put people through this follow-up process? There's multiple ways. And let me go ahead and pull up the canvas again so you see what's happening. All right, so again, just a quick reminder. Whenever somebody labels this person as a bad lead, that's when it's gonna add them to this workflow. It's gonna wait 45 days and then put them through that system that I just showed you guys so that they can get that initial message in 45 days asking if they're still interested. Now again, remember, this is not the only way for you to add people to the workflow. You could go to that contact at, let's say hypothetically you have a call center, right? So you have a call center and they're designed to disposition calls accordingly, right? So okay, they disposition that call, great. After they disposition the call, then what's gonna happen is we could simply add a tag on that contact, or add them to this workflow manually after they've got off the phone with the individual, right? That way, no matter how many times, really what we have to do is just talk to a customer one time, and depending on where they are, if they're not interested, then we'll go ahead and put them through this system so that we could find out if they are interested in the next 45, 60 days. In fact, I've heard this before, and I was at a meeting earlier today, and it's a common thing. But the money is in the follow-up. The money's in the follow-up. In fact, I'm gonna give a quick story on where I learned this process and how I learned the value of following up. So years ago, I learned a little bit about wholesaling, right? Real estate wholesaling. For those of you that don't know what wholesaling is, just go ahead and search it up on Google and you'll learn what it is, or ChatGPT. So I initially struggled, right? I struggled, and it wasn't the action that made it difficult for me. What made it difficult for me was following up. Same with girls, right? I could meet a girl in the marketplace, compliment her, let her know what's up, get her number, but following up is not my strength, right? Following up is just not my strength. It's like, yo, I already showed interest. You already know what's up. I want her to just come to me, right? Just come to me. Let me fucking just tell me the next steps, right? I don't want to fucking have to keep letting her know about X and how much I like her and planning a fucking date. And I just don't want to do that, but you have to. The point is that it's a weakness of mine, all right? And this is just a reflection of how bad recently I have not been caking with no girls. I've been just focused on myself, growing my business. But the point is that following up is everything. Following up is absolutely everything, bro. You can meet a girl in the marketplace, and if you don't follow up with her, bro, the likelihood of her texting you and saying, yo, let's Netflix and chill, or let's go grab some smoothies, or let's hit up the park, or it's not gonna happen, bro. It's just non-existent. You have to follow up. And same with business, right? So years ago, I learned a little bit about wholesaling, and in this process, I would call realtors, kind of engage, see if they had opportunity in which made sense for what I was looking for. So I'd call, say, hey, hey, Bobby, I noticed you sold this property back in March. Question, do you happen to have anything similar to this that I could take a look at? Oh yeah, man, what's your price range? They'll start asking me questions, right? What's your price range? When are you looking to purchase? Are you looking to own? Or what's your goal with the property? And I would tell them, I would say this, I would let them know my reason. Yeah, so I'm looking to make a purchase within the next 14 days. I am an investor. I'd ask them, do you work with investors or do you only work with homeowners? And the point is that towards the end of the call, 9 times out of 10, they didn't have a property, right? They're like, oh, no, I don't have anything right now. The market's not at its, it's not at its prime right now. I don't have anything right now. I just listed something, but it's completely separate from what you're looking for. Rarely did they have anything that I needed, which was okay. I understood that going into the call. But what I learned is, before I go into what I learned, let me go ahead and share how I used to do it. So I would call them, talk to them. If they say yes, I would get the property. If they say no, I'm like, okay, is it cool for me to follow up within the next 3 months? Oh yeah, no problem. So I would put them into a spreadsheet and I would color the spreadsheet. And then the green ones told me, okay, they were a decent person. I had a decent conversation. They were okay with me calling them. So then the green ones, I was supposed to call. But I never called them. I just kept calling new realtors. My follow-up game is trash. Eventually, I had a massive list of realtors, and I never called them. I never took the time to follow up. And not only that, if you were to follow up, yeah, it's a lot of it is relationship building. After 3 months, you call again. Hey, Bison, I just talked to you a couple months ago. Just following up, man. Just seeing if you happen to have anything on the market that I could take a look at. Oh, no, not right now. But I never followed up. I never did it manually. So that's one of the areas in which I messed up drastically. And if you listen to a lot of successful people, what they talk about is the money's in the follow-up. The fortune's in the follow-up. The money's in the follow-up. The fortune's in the follow-up. So I met a cool person, and he taught me this system that he used for his company, right? And what he do is, after he got off the phone, he would simply add a tag on the contact, and then it would put him through the system. So now with this system, now the goal is to have conversations knowing you could trust that factually you're going to be able to consistently follow up with leads that you've talked to. Does that make sense? So with that being said, it's a whole nother game, right? It's a completely different game versus you having to manually think about following up with somebody in 3, 4 months, 6 months. Who knows what you're gonna have on your plate in 3, 4, 6 months? And it is important, you gotta do it, but the point is that if you could automate this process, why wouldn't you? So again, we'd make those calls, and then after that, we'd hang up. Before we hung up, let's say, hey, curious, man, are you okay with me following up within the next 2, 3, 4 months, just to see if anything changes? Absolutely, great. So then I add the tag, and then it would put them through the same system, following up, asking if they happen to have any properties that I could take a look at. So I overextended the follow-up. I gotta get better with that segment. But the point is that follow-up is complete, right? Following up is complete, and following up is king. Following up is the way to make money. Following up is the way to get them cheeks. Following up is the way to fortune. You have to follow up with people. You have to, yes, initiate contact, but after that, you have to reach back out to engage interest. In fact, I'll tell you another good story. I met a girl in Panera Bread, I would say maybe 3, 4 months ago, and we struck conversation. She does multi-level marketing. I already know what's up, but I gave him time. I listened. I heard him out. I kind of, just wanted to support him, if you will. And a couple months passed. She had invited me to a meeting, and I said, even in person, I shared with her. I told her, I'm not looking for any opportunity. I'm locked in. I'm growing my business. And she was like, fair enough. She kind of tried to object or rebuttal and let me know, this could be a good opportunity for you to network, all this stuff. But the point is that 2 days ago, she sent me a message asking if she sent me a message asking if I have time, if I can come to a meeting. And, I got out of my own head. I said, you know what? I know I don't want to join the network marketing team, but from a networking perspective, I may be able to meet somebody or just provide value and also support. So I did that. You know what I mean? I told her I'm going to go out and support you. I'm not looking to join. I understand that, I get what you're trying to do is get people to come out to the meeting. I know the purpose, but that's not why I'm coming. You know what I mean? Like, I'm coming to support you, to network, but I'm not coming for that. But the reason I share that is because I would have never gone out if she didn't follow up. Does that make sense? And to be honest, I may join. I may actually join. It's $30 for the year. So I'm gonna join for a different reason. I see a lot of value in networking with people that are in the trenches. I think I could meet a good community of people that would see me as an individual, trust me, and then I could potentially build a clientele from that. So that's why I considered it. That's where I seen the value exchange for me. But the point is that I would have never gone out to that meeting if she didn't follow up. You know what I'm saying? If she didn't follow up. So that's that. All right. Let's go ahead and switch over to another account. Let's go ahead and close this out. Oh, before I do, actually, there's some really cool stuff that could be done here as well. So outside of the review request, there's a new feature that allows us to request video testimonials. All right. Request video testimonials, which is massive, right? So it's one thing to get somebody to leave you a review on Google, but if you could send them a text message with a request for them to leave you a video testimony, game changer. Absolute game changer. Absolute game changer. So I'm gonna actually put something together, and I'm thinking about the last phase of people that I put through the review request. What I'm gonna do is maybe 30 days from then say, hey, we appreciate you leaving a review. Don't wanna ask for too much, but we're really looking to grow this year. Would you be open to leave us a positive video testimony or something like that? I don't know, I'll figure out the wording. But anyway, that's a new feature. I haven't used it as much as I want to yet, but I will. There's also some other cool features as well, which I'm not going to get into too many details here. But one of the cool things that you could do for a local business is get them listed on multiple search directories, right? So this is more of an SEO play. This is more on the back end. But just imagine being able to get a business owner listed, not just on the basic search engines, but on over 40, 50, sometimes 60 different search directories. And the cool thing is that when you do a little search on most companies, they usually have the information incorrect, right? So, some would have the address incorrect, some would have different phone numbers from when they first started the business to the transition, or maybe they changed address throughout the time they've been in business. Well, there's software that allows you to get them listed in multiple places at once. And that's massive, right? Because not only are you listing them in multiple places on the internet, you also have accurate data, accurate information, which helps from an SEO perspective. What I mean, so when Google crawls the internet and they see your URL, your website, your phone number in multiple places, that gives you as a business credibility in Google's eyes. Does that make sense? So, and the opposite is true as well. So if you have inconsistent information, well, they're gonna say, well, your phone number is this over here, you have a website over here, in this place you don't have a website, your address is different over here. Why would they want to recommend you on their platform? I'm talking about Google, if you don't even have consistent information throughout the internet, right? So what you're able to do as well is get companies listed in multiple search directories. I'll give you a name I'll name drop a few. So Alexa, Apple Maps, the Better Business Bureau, Bing, Chamber of Commerce, City Search, eLocal, Fiat, Cyclex, City Squares, GM, Google, Google Assistant, Google Maps, Ford, Foursquare, Siri, Tom, Toyota, Uber, Show Me Local. Now, I'm fully aware. I know a question that I get often is, how many people are actually searching for your business on Super Pages or on Toyota or Tupalo? I don't even know how to say that shit. Toyota, Nextdoor. Rarely people are usually not looking for your services on these search directories. But the one thing is true is what I mentioned initially is Google looks at your business as a more credible company when you are on multiple places at once, especially on credible search engines, right? So Nextdoor isn't a company that just started yesterday. They're not just a URL that somebody opened up. Like, they have a lot of credibility in the internet in terms of how long they've been around, the amount of companies that have been listed on there. Like, they're an actual credible company. So being listed on there helps. And when Google crawls the internet, again, it just helps from an SEO perspective, right? It's something that's just small little things that help from a back end perspective. It isn't something that I recommend offering up front as the only service you provide. And the reason I don't do that is because you're not going to get immediate wins from this. You're not going to get immediate wins. Depending on how much you get for your customer, how much you charge them, you could either charge them a little extra for you to pay for this and do it, and maybe add a few extra so you can make some money. Or if you priced it correct yourself, if you priced your service correct, you could just pay for it and kind of do it for them. But yeah, it's very, very powerful, very powerful. And you could all do that within the same platform as well. There's more details. I'm not going to get into that right now, but as far as the hours of operation, the times that you're open, closed, all of that, you could put that across multiple places, which is, again, the most important thing is congruency. You want to make sure that you have accurate data throughout the internet when it comes to being a local business. Social profiles, pictures, the services that you provide, media, all of that stuff. Absolutely phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. Also, before I hop into appointment and inbound inquiries, I'm gonna quick show you guys a cool little feature as well that you have the ability to do, right? And you could also create blogs. You could also create blogs, which is massive, right? So this is something that I do when I have a little bit of spare time. I make blogs for one of my clients, not for every client. Blogs are very time consuming, so I don't really, not as time consuming as it was in the past. Thank God we have tools now that allow you to, be a lot more efficient, but there's still a lot of little details and nuance that has to be done when it comes to blogging. So yeah, this is my latest one that I created. Little something light, little something light, little something light, little something light, little something light. I know I gotta get better pictures, but at the end of the day, the most important thing that I'm doing is, phone number, address. I put the link to Google here. Tags. A lot of putting in H1, H2, or whatever that bullshit is called. Formatting it properly. Categories, making it about 1,500 words. Using credible links as well, so FEMA.gov, just small little things like that. And this is all SEO stuff. This is things that help on the back end. There's not going to be an immediate return when it comes to this, but this is happening on the back end as well. All right, so let me close this out. I'm going to close out this account as well. I'm going to close out this account. And now we are going to get into appointment, cancel, and scheduling. I'm going to talk a little bit about conversational AI, and then I'm going to show you inbound inquiries and how it all ties together. All right. So what you're going to want to do is, once you get signed up, once you get inside the platform, you're going to go to calendars, and you're going to want to create a calendar. I take that back. When you actually start, I think it automatically makes a calendar for you. But nonetheless, you're still going to want to go to the calendar section. And if it does have one created for you, what you're going to want to do is just go to the section where you edit. So calendar, you go to calendar setting. And then I'm just going to use this example. So you'll go to the little pencil on the right. You'll edit the calendar. Here, you have the ability to edit the details. So the name of the calendar, description of what's happening, right? You could put a custom URL here. So AI, employers, whatever it is, whatever business that you're in, right? So AI stuff. Right, so that's going to be at the end of your URL when it comes to your calendar. So now it says AI stuff. The meeting invite to the contact's name. So this is the little brackets with the contact.name. This here is for whoever booked an appointment, right? For that name to automatically be populated there. So the meeting invite title. So whenever they get that invite meeting, it's going to have their name on there. Meeting location, if you wanted to use, let's say like Zoom or Google Meets, you could actually select those. If it's going to be an address that you guys are meeting at, maybe a phone number if you guys are booking a call, Google Meet, Microsoft Teams. I mean, there's different options. You could use your logo as well. You could put the logo here on the calendar. And why is this valuable? The reason I'm sharing this is for multiple reasons. You'll see as I talk about the inbound inquiries, but also when it comes to lowering expenses as a business owner, right? So Maybe you as a business owner are paying for multiple softwares, whether it's a calendar, an email software that, obviously you use to send out emails, and then an SMS platform that you use to send out text messages, and then you have Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, all these platforms you're using to communicate and reach out and post. So there's a lot of stuff, right? And what's beautiful about what I'm showing, and there's a reason why I'm showing so much, is because even though it's a lot to learn initially, when you do it right, you can automate a lot of these systems. And you're helping a business owner consolidate, keep expenses low, keep things simple for them, right? And that within itself is value, right? It's value for the business owner, and it's valuable for you, because you're not having to, let's say if you're doing this without the software, you're gonna have to do this manually yourself, and you could actually do everything all in-house and start providing this value. So most people use Calendly. Well, now you could take that off of your monthly subscription or yearly subscription, and then just pay for one piece of software that could literally book appointments as well. All right, availability. So you have some options here as well. This is pretty cool. All right, so availability. Any time that you are available, the times and dates that you want to show available on your calendar. If you want to look busy, maybe 10, 15, 20% of the time you can. You just simply have to toggle this and go ahead and select the time, the percent of times that you want to seem busy, so your calendar doesn't seem open throughout the whole week or month. You could also create some parameters. So meeting interval, right? So between times, right? So after, let's say you have an appointment, you have availability at 10:30, and then you could set one to be available 30 minutes after. So the next one's going to be at 11, and the next one's going to be at 11:30. So you could change the intervals in when your calendar shows availability. All right. The other thing is the meeting duration, right? So in this case, 30 minutes. Maybe the meeting that you do is 10 minutes. It's a quick consultation just to see where they're at, and then the in-person meeting happens from there. Or maybe you pre-qualify them in a quick little 5-10 minute call, and then you set up an actual Zoom meeting where they're seeing your screen and they see the full presentation. Or there's plenty of ways to go about it, but the point is that meeting duration, minimum scheduling notice, right? So maybe you need them to schedule an appointment 2 days before the day of the appointment, right? They can't just go to your calendar and book an appointment today. It's like, no, maybe they need to wait a little bit. So you can actually set those parameters as well. Date range, within how far into the future could they book an appointment, right? So how far into the future could they book an appointment? So let's say they can only go 14 days out into the calendar. Outside of that, you're gonna have to wait later on and double check to see if I have some availability on my calendar. Maximum bookings per day, pretty self-explanatory, and then also maximum bookings per slot. All right, pre-buffer time, this is for before so this is to give you time pre and post. So this is to give you time before and after meetings, right? So just a little bit of time after you get off a call or before you get on a call, just to get some time to prepare or kind of get a little breather, drink some water, drink some Gatorade before you get onto the next call. So give you a little gap. If you're doing calls back to back to back to back, this is more for like high volume outbound calls, people that are paying millions for leads, and they're really working their calendar. Next thing, this is really cool within itself as well, and this is the ability to collect payment before somebody books on your calendar. All right. I haven't set this up yet, but all I simply have to do is accept payments. I'm already connected to Stripe. I put my dollar amount. In fact, we could actually do a little test to see how this, dollar amount. So there you go. So total amount, $50 deposit, accept partial payment, enable coupon codes, right? So that's pretty cool. Who is that useful for? Who is that helpful for? Let's say if you own a spa, or you own a hair salon, or you own a nail salon, or who knows, any business that requires you to book an appointment. Just imagine the amount of people that would take their appointments serious if they paid. And here's the thing, you could also say something like, this payment is going towards your service. If you don't show up, there's a non-refundable fee, right? So if you no show, then there's a non-refundable, right? So you can maybe charge them 1% of what they're supposed to pay whenever they do come to your facility or whatever service you're offering, right? The nail salon, the med spa. Let's say you charge $250 per session, but you don't want just random people booking on your calendar. You really value your time. So you can just put a little payment, 15, 20 bucks, and there you go. If they don't show, you at least made 15, 20 bucks for somebody booking on your calendar and not showing, right? So little small things like that extremely valuable, man, just extremely valuable. This here is cool too. So this is the notification, right? So whenever somebody confirms an appointment, whenever an appointment is booked and is not confirmed, right? So whenever somebody booked an appointment but is not confirmed, they just booked it, but they haven't confirmed it on their email, you'll get a notification. You could select how you want this notification to come through. So if you want it to come in via email, SMS, WhatsApp, or even inside of the app, which you'll also have access to as well. So cancellation, that way you can get notified if somebody canceled, rescheduled, reminders, follow-ups, right? So these are important things, and there's workflows that I'm not going to get into right now, but similar workflows to what I showed with the review and the follow-up. There's workflows in place for appointment reminders and cancellation and rescheduling that you'll simply put in place. You could send them a message maybe 24 hours before the event, 1 hour before the event, just so they can stay engaged. And something that I learned today is, instead of having this mentality of reminding people about the appointment, you could get them excited, right? So you could maybe frame it like, hey, I'm looking forward to our call in 24 hours, be there. Or that's just a good example, right? So just getting them excited for the event, or maybe sending them information like, hey, make sure to watch these videos before our call tomorrow, right? I look forward to talking to you tomorrow. So these are just little things that you could do, but this section here is just the notification section of it, all right? Having this turned on as well allows you to reschedule, allows the customers to reschedule, and allows them to cancel the meeting. If you don't select this, then they're not going to have the ability to cancel, right? And these are the meeting invite notes. So whenever you guys book an appointment on somebody's calendar and you get that email that comes in with the rescheduling link, need to make a change to this event, reschedule, all of this stuff that you see is essentially, this is what's happening on the back end, all right? So again, just to backtrack a little bit, we're over an hour, so I just want to make sure to give those opportunities that have made it this far to comment the word school. Now, right now, I do charge 24 bucks a month in order to join my school community, but it's not going to be like that forever. So I don't know when you're going to watch this video. I repeat, I don't know when you're going to watch this video, but it is not going to be 24 a month forever. That's all I'm saying. And there's a lot of value, there's a lot of frameworks, there's a lot of systems that you could either build from scratch, or you could just have it given to you, right? I could literally just put this into your account and show you how to put it together so that you can start charging business owners or content creators with these systems. Now, you don't have to geek out. You don't have to do reviews, follow-ups, appointments, inbound inquiries. In fact, oftentimes it's hard to get to this point, meaning when you talk to a business owner, bro, it's hard to get, it depends what you're offering, but to get a business owner's time is not easy. So you got to really find out where are their pain points. And it may be, reviews may be a good entry level offer. And then once you're in the door, you can start building. Once you build some trust, you could start recommending and start building on top of that. But, initially you could maybe start offering voice AI, which handles missed calls, or you could start handling conversational AI. And that leads me over to my last pillar, my second to last pillar, conversational AI, right? So that could be an offer. Or a voice AI. But in this phase, what I'm going to talk about is conversational AI, and I'm partnering it with inbound inquiries because earlier I talked a little bit about how business owners pay for leads. Okay, business owners pay for leads, but oftentimes they don't reply to every inquiry as fast as they should, right? Maybe they're paying for advertisement on Google and Facebook and they have a lot of traction, and it's hard for them to follow back up with somebody that sent them a message on Facebook. And initially, when you get that first Facebook message, you're excited about it. But after a while, you start noticing there's a shit ton of tire kickers sending you messages inquiring about XYZ. So what we do is we could simply put Sophie to work and start responding to all of these messages that are coming in through Facebook, TikTok, Instagram. Well, right now there's a few that it integrates with Instagram and Facebook for sure. LinkedIn and TikTok, I think it's going to be through comments. There's workflows that I could put in place for comments. But the point is that having somebody respond at the time in which the person asked the question is the most important thing. All right? Hands down. The most important thing is when somebody asks your business a question, you want to make sure that you answer that question as soon as possible. And, obviously there's some people that invest money into having a team handle that, right? And you may not be in a position to hire somebody just to be able to do that, right? Or maybe you have trouble finding talent, right? So that's where you can simply start lowering your expenses and utilize artificial intelligence, or in this case, utilize Sophie so that she can handle any of the inbound messages that come in through the social platforms. Now, let's go ahead and start from the bot settings. All right, so SMS. Right now, she's conditioned to answer to SMS. But if I toggle here, it's gonna give me the different platforms in which she would respond to, right? So Facebook being one of them, Instagram, as I mentioned, a chat widget, so SMS chat, live chat, WhatsApp, right? And, this is pretty cool because you could also have this imported on a website. Meaning, if you go to, here, I'll show you guys an example. So there's gonna be a little bubble that pops up, right? So if I start conversing, hi there, have a question, text me here, right? So I can simply start engaging with what service do you offer? And same thing, Sophie's gonna take over this conversation. I think I just changed it to 12 seconds, unfortunately. So just give it some time. But anyway, the point is that she's gonna respond. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I think I just changed the setting today, fucking playing around and shit. Oh man, what a good example. Alright, bad example. I know why it's fucking up. Oh, because I only got her responding to SMS. So I'd have to turn on live chat and chat widget. And then I'll go ahead and do it again. What service do you offer and how much will it cost? And I got a notification on my phone letting me know that somebody just sent a message, right? So now it's going to be a true 12 seconds. It should be a true 12 seconds. So right now it's typing. Now you don't want to have it 1 second or 2 seconds because it's just going to seem a little too weird. But great question. So, I got to change some stuff. But as for pricing, I don't have the exact numbers right here. But I can walk you through what Sophie does and help you see if it's a fit for your business. Let's get started. What's your name? So that's going to take me through this process and ask me questions. But the point is that based on your business, we'll configure it so that she replies accordingly, right? So one of the things that I showed you guys was the time frame, 12 seconds to respond. Maximum amount of messages the bot can send in a conversation. So let's just say if there was another bot fucking with my website, they could converse, or maybe there was just somebody else being stupid, just kind of conversing with the AI chat bot all day. That's going to cost me money. So there's a limit that you could actually put on the conversational agent so that she only responds up to 20, 25 times per conversation. Some pretty cool features as well. So send bot to sleep when I send a message manually or through a workflow. So this is pretty cool as well because let's say hypothetically that you get that notification, you see that somebody sent you a message and you want to take over, right? Maybe you have enough staffing, it's not as busy. You could simply just respond. You don't need AI to take over that conversation. Cool. So if that happens, we could set it so that the bot automatically turns off and doesn't send a message right after you, which is extremely valuable, right? So, and then it's going to activate within 2 hours, meaning if the person decides to send another message within 2, 3, let's say hypothetically, you send them a message, you reply, you answer the question manually, and then they don't reply, right? Rather than you staying around with your phone, 2 hours after that, this is going to activate and it may send them another message, or it may send them another message, or let's play this in a different scenario. So let's say that you got that message, you replied manually, and then you sent it out, and then they replied to you. So now AI is turned off, but you're busy right now. Hypothetically, you're busy. You're not able to reply as soon as they reply to you. Now you're the one that's busy. So then that's when 2 hours after that, AI will turn on and kind of start taking over that conversation from where the last person sent that message in. The next thing that we have, I'm not going to get into this right now, but knowledge base is pretty cool because whenever you start having, for example, there's plenty of ways that you could build a knowledge database. You could actually have it crawl the website in which you want AI to be trained on, or you could create like a PDF, a written form so that AI has all of this information as well. There's different structures. I'm not going to get into this right now, but just know that when it comes to having the information about your company, you could simply just load a knowledge base so that way it knows the basic information about your business. All right. The next thing I want to talk about is the brand voice. All right, and the reason I want to talk about this is because a lot of this is new. So there's more functionalities that we have when it comes to voice agent. We have the ability to, change the tonality of the voice agent, whereas before we would have to prompt her to be that way. Whereas now we have that ability to have different tonalities. So a lot of this is done on the back end. It's pretty much made simple for you now versus before. More of it was with the prompting. And then also additional information. This is where you put the information on who your target audience is, your customers' pain points, your brand promise, brand values, right? So these are this is the heart, the soul of your chatbot, your voice agent. And a lot of this is going to change, right? One of the analogies that I like to give is just imagine hiring somebody for the first time and expect them to be an AAA plus and answer every question correct without making any mistakes, and just it's impossible. The point is that everybody's always going to make a mistake, a human and also AI. But the cool thing is that once you catch these mistakes with AI, the likelihood of it continuing to make these mistakes is very slim versus a human is going to make the mistake again. Or you have the risk of having to hire somebody else because you promoted this person, or maybe they just found a new job and now you got to go through this process again. And sometimes people are not in the best of moods and they're just not feeling it, right? So in those scenarios, you don't have to worry about that because she's going to be consistent 24/7, 365. No matter what's happening, AI is going to respond how she's been conditioned to respond. All right, so that's Sophie. Bot goals. This is pretty cool as well. And I like this because now you have a framework in which you can operate. So before, a lot of the big players would use what's called CloseBot, and CloseBot was, the third-party bot that we'd use for conversations. And what's happening now is we have more functionality within the software so that you could have that same structure with these agents, meaning this is the line of questions in which this is the objectives, the information that she must gather. Does that make sense? So information to collect. If you want, you can get her to collect name, phone number, email, street address, city, or you could deselect. In this case, I just need a name, describe the question. So ask the user for their name of business, and get them to book a consultation. Some more settings that we have here as well is skip if already filled. Also appointment details. So allow the bot to book an appointment. And this is why I showed the calendar earlier, right? So earlier we showed you how to create that calendar. And this is where you're going to select the calendar so that you can get that person, so AI knows what calendar to reference, right? So first you create the calendar. Without you having the calendar created, you're not going to have the ability to select the calendar, right? So if you don't see an option here, what you're going to have to do is go to calendar, create a calendar, and then from there it's going to give you that option. So book a call with Bison, and then after, I don't have one, but trigger workflow after appointment book. Okay, so let's think about this, right? Hypothetically, somebody booked an appointment. You could trigger a workflow so that now after they book that appointment, you could start sending them informational videos of maybe just kind of setting them up for what to expect, right? So they booked an appointment, they set it out for a week. Okay, great. Now, what are you gonna do in between that time? You could add a workflow so that they start getting information and start preparing for that call, if you will. It's just one scenario. In fact, I'll give you an example. I recently, I'm a part of a community. I'm not going to talk too much about that, but the point is that I booked a call with someone, and as soon as I booked that call, I started getting emails. And these emails were saying, make sure to watch these videos before our call, and they also sent some testimonies of people that use their service, right? So you just have to, so that's a good use case, right? So that's a good use case on how you could utilize trigger workflow after booking an appointment. There's other things that you could do as well, but the sky's the limit. Also, pause bot response after booking, right? So maybe you don't want AI to continue responding. So as soon as they book an appointment, that's it. No more conversation. Stop responding. I don't want no more conversation. Transfer employee post-appointment booking, right? So let's say hypothetically that you have an internal team that follows up with calls just to confirm manually that the details are correct and that they're ready for that appointment. So rather than waiting, you could literally just transfer the person that is booking the appointment over to an employee, and they could follow up manually just to confirm. Allow bot to cancel the appointment and allow bot to reschedule the appointment. So earlier on the calendar setting, I allowed rescheduling to take place. I allowed cancellations to take place. And so now, by me turning this on, I allow AI to actually cancel and reschedule these appointments as well, right? So one of them allows the customer to do it manually, And then the second one allows for AI to actually reschedule these appointments and book them. And winding down, also as far as notifications, right? So you may have admins, you may have a team of people that need to get notified as soon as an appointment is booked. This is massive, right? This is absolutely important because whenever an appointment is booked, somebody has to take care of that appointment. So making sure that they're notified as soon as that appointment is scheduled is extremely important. Yeah. And then we have the conversational guidelines and also the initial message, right? So are you more interested in missed call handling, inbound social messages, or boosting Google reviews? So I'm going to change this message as well. I haven't really worked on my personal conversational agent. I've been working on some other ones, but I got to tweak mine. I got to make mine a lot better. I haven't really, I'll be honest, right? So like I don't have a decent amount of lead flow, right? I don't have a sales team hunting and shit. So I don't really perfect mine as much as I do other clients, which I should have just used the other one. But anyway, we're here now. I just wanted to show you guys the framework. Also the intent behind the conversation. So your goal is to get the customer to book an appointment. And these are the conversational guidelines. So keep responses short, natural, and friendly. Never use emojis, never use dashes. Do not confirm spelling, right? So on voice, it's actually okay to confirm some stuff. But in text, it's like, that doesn't make any sense, right? Like, confirming, is this how you spell it? Like, so there's little rules that you have to set in place, but once you put these rules in place, then rarely will she make a mistake. Rarely will she make a mistake. All right, and last thing is, that's it. That's all I got for now. I'm not gonna get into the social media. I'm not gonna get into the social media strategy that we're using to outreach at scale without paid ads. I'm not gonna get into that right now, but for those of you that want to learn more about how we're doing this, so that one had about 196 posts. I think it said 70,000 impressions, and I've been a little busy in other areas this week, but this one, 731 posts over the course of a week, over 3,000 likes, 70 new followers, over 113 impressions, and these numbers are very low in relation to what I had going about a month ago. I decided to kind of scale it back a little bit, and there's a reason for that, but the point is that I can show you guys how to actually start getting your content out in multiple places and start automating the outreach so that you don't have to do this manually. So a lot of this is systems that I put together. It takes a little bit of time, but for those of you that, I'm gonna end it with this. For those of you that are looking for an opportunity to earn a little bit of extra money, this stuff may sound technical, and although it is, it's not as complex as you may think, all right? In fact, the last thing that I'm gonna touch on is, the last thing that I want to touch on is the education continuum. And the reason I want to talk about this, first of all, let me give credit where credit is due. Andy, I have so much respect for you. I'm gonna spell it correct. Wow. Andy Tanner. So Andy Tanner, he's the individual that introduced me to this model, and I'm forever grateful for him. But the reason I share this is because a lot of what I talked about today, I know it may seem a little complex, but you got to realize that Everybody's ignorant at some point. All right, so regardless of the path you want to take, whether you want to take real estate serious, whether you want to take, maybe providing a local service to people in your area as a business serious, maybe you want to take content creation serious. There's so many business opportunities out there. You're still gonna need a lot of these systems at some point or another. That I could almost guarantee. I've helped plenty of businesses in different niches, and at some point they're gonna need minimum like 40%, 50% of the stuff that I just showed you guys. Like at some point, it's just part of what needs to happen in business in order to grow, factually. And they're either gonna do it individually, they're gonna have to pay for software to get it done, they're gonna have to pay for somebody to do it, right? But the reason I shared this is because ignorance. A lot of what I talked about may be new information, a lot of this stuff may be new. You've never heard these terms, right? All this AI and automations and workflows and systems and the social planner with post automation and also setting up a calendar and configuring that properly. You're now becoming aware of this, right? So I'm not expecting you to be a professional. I'm not expecting you to understand everything I talked about. But I do know that just like learning a new language, it requires time in order to be competent. In order for you to communicate the language, it requires sitting down and taking the courses, right? Jumping on a Zoom, doing it a few times, right? So it takes a while to move over to competency, and then obviously proficiency is the goal. I spelled that wrong, but proficiency is the goal. Proficiency is where, at this point, you're not only talking about it, you're not only doing it, you're doing it at a high level, right? So you're helping other people, you're doing it at a high level, all right? And the cool thing about this diagram, something I've caught on is, both, you notice how the arrow goes either direction. Ignorance is infinite, but so is proficiency. It's a decision to continually educate yourself because, again, if you choose to not learn, you'll stay here. In fact, you get to the point of arrogance. You don't want to go this way. That's all I'm gonna say. You do not want to go in this direction. You want to keep things moving that way. All right, and that's where things get really good. All right, things get really good. So just give yourself some time. Give yourself some grace. And like I said, make sure to comment the word school, SKOOL, and in my school community, there we can go more in depth. I'll slow down a little bit. I'll screen share, and whatever questions you have in terms of, maybe implementing this for your own business. You could do this as a business owner. By the way, I know most business owners say they don't have the time, but most business owners could do this on their own. They have to obviously take the time to learn it. And hence, as I mentioned earlier, most business owners don't have the time. They have a lot of things on their plate. And the funny thing is that when they have a lot of things on their plate, it's because they're making money, right? And they want to continue that way. The stuff they have on their plate is making them a lot of money. They don't want to set time aside to start learning how to build automations and workflows, etc. But I'm here to tell you that if you are a business owner and you don't have the extra funds to hire a massive team, you could either start learning this to do this on your own, or just hit me up. Give me a call, 321-587-0323, and book a time on my calendar. Also, you could ask Chloe to give you a demo. You could ask her to give you a demo, or you could just say, no, book a time on Bison's calendar. She'll go ahead and set that time on my calendar, and then we could set something up so that we could start helping you implement this for your company, right? Put some of these automations in place so that you can get some of your time back. So with that, guys, keep growing, keep developing. I know this video was extremely long, but yeah, stay connected, and I look forward to seeing you guys inside of my school community. Take care.